Hey guys, so I'm back with another Stardust related video, and today we're actually going to be doing a double feature of both A Wrinkle in Time and Hurricane Heist. This was kind of a last minute decision including Hurricane Heist in this video, but there's just some other stuff that I wanted to say about that movie, and I just wanted to see what other people were thinking about the movie. So this is mainly dedicated to A Wrinkle in Time, but first, once again, what is Stardust? Stardust is a great movie app where you can do 30-second reactions to not only movies, but TV shows, trailers, simulator rides, you name it. And it allows you to get your voice out there and just basically give your opinion on what you thought of something without going through all the effort of doing a YouTube video like I do. And a lot of recognizable people from the YouTube movie review community use the app as well, like Jeremy Johns, John Campia just recently joined the app, The Flick Pick, The Schmoes, Double Toasted. So there's a lot of recognizable people out there, some of which you might actually see in this video. So this is part of an ongoing partnership with Stardust where I'm doing videos showcasing a lot of reactions, and it's used as a great method to talk about spoilers for certain movies. And in today's case, it's both A Wrinkle in Time and Hurricane Heist. So if you want to join in on the Stardust action, and if you want your reactions featured in future videos, go ahead and download the app, create an account, go ahead and follow me, RealMrRobinson. Tag me in your reactions whenever I make the call to feature reactions in certain videos, and I'll pick out the best ones to use. So you can go to the link right down here, stardust.app.link/RealMrRobinson, and join in on the fun. So we're going to start off, as I mentioned before, with A Wrinkle in Time, because I sent a call out for reactions in A Wrinkle in Time, and Hurricane Heist was just kind of a last-minute addition. But let's start off with probably the coolest name on the Stardust app, Zyborg. Xyborg. I just love that name.
I wanted to like this movie. I really did. I wanted to be in the minority. This movie made me really, really angry because this movie should have been great. This movie has, great direction, but the acting was so bad, and whoever wrote this movie should never write another script ever again. There's a diamond in this movie, but there's just too much turd.
Okay, so who wrote A Wrinkle in Time? Give me a second. This movie was co-written by Jennifer Lee and Jeff Stockwell. I don't know who Jeff Stockwell is, but Jennifer Lee has been with Disney for some time. She wrote Wreck-It Ralph. She co-directed Frozen. She came up with the story idea for Zootopia, and she's apparently going to do Frozen 2. So she's been in the game for a while, and I feel like this is just one of those situations where it was a tough task to do, because apparently from a lot of people this book is supposed to be unfilmable. So that explains why a lot of things happen at random. But with these kinds of movies, it's hard to tell whose fault it is. Like, do you want to blame the writers? Do you want to blame the directors? Do you want to blame the studio? Because film is such a collaborative effort that it only takes one hand to kind of screw it up. It's like looking at a clock. There's so many gears that keep it running, but if one of them goes out of commission, then the whole system is just done. But I do agree with him with that metaphor at the end. There's a diamond in here, but it's just surrounded by shit. I don't know, it's honestly a tough nut to crack for me since I've never read the book, but this is actually a great segue into the next reaction, which is from one of my favorite Super Stardusters out there, Kaylee, who actually is more positive on the movie than a lot of other people out there, which is exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking for since most of the response out there seems to be pretty negative.
Wrinkle in Time movie is a beautiful and choppy adaptation of an equally beautiful and choppy book. I think the whole cast did a phenomenal job, particularly Storm Reid. I think a lot of young girls are going to look to her portrayal of Meg and see themselves in it. The effects were good at times, I'd say 90% of the time, and yeah, overall a great message. I think very timely, and I'm glad Ava DuVernay did this movie.
So you heard that right there. Beautifully choppy book. So that really leads me to believe that, yeah, this book was never intended to work as a feature film, because as I've said before, what works in a book doesn't necessarily work on film. Now, one thing that I just can't really get on board on that Kaylee mentioned was the film's message. The whole message of the movie is that pretty much love conquers all. Near the end of the movie, the little brother, Charles Wallace, gets possessed by this evil spirit within this alternate dimension, and the way the spirit is defeated is by Meg shouting constantly, I love you, and then the evil spirit goes away and Charles Wallace is saved. Okay, look, I understand that love is an incredibly powerful emotion. Love is more powerful than hate. I get that. But having love be the sole answer to the conflict of your movie and for it to actually destroy the film's villain is bullshit. When that happened in the movie, I rolled my eyes, and I know I'm going to piss off people by saying this, but it's the exact same thing that killed Interstellar for me. You had this group of scientists, like respected scientists. I'm talking about both Interstellar and A Wrinkle in Time. But they suddenly throw all that out of the way because love is the answer to everything. When, again, you guys are scientists. You need a more scientific explanation for this shit happening. That's the big thing in the movie that really killed it for me, outside of many other problems with this movie. Which actually leads into the next reaction from the other Corey of Double Toasted, Corey Goodwin.
What a mess of a movie. I'm at a loss for words as to how bad that was. The only forgivable thing in it was your boy Derek McCabe playing the little boy Charles Wallace. I laughed my ass off, but it wasn't for good reasons. It was all like this kid is chewing up scenery like a raging pit bull, man. But outside of that, this movie is garbage.
Yeah, there was nothing about this movie that I downright hated or that made me angry. But the one thing that I do recall hating was the kid that played Charles Wallace. Now, when we get to the end of the movie, he is pretty much chewing up scenery, as Corey Goodwin said. But the rest of the movie, as I mentioned in my review, he comes across like Jake Lloyd in Phantom Menace, where he's just so irritating, and you just kind of want to do nothing but grab this kid and throw him across that beautiful countryside that everyone first visits when they go to the alternate dimension. And I know some people are going to come in and say, oh, the kid's very young, cut him some slack, he's still getting into it. One name for you. Jacob Tremblay. Jacob Tremblay was very young when the movie Room came out in 2015, the movie that won Brie Larson her Academy Award. And that kid was phenomenal. He was fantastic in that movie. So again, in this era where we have these really phenomenal child actors, there's no excuse. There's really no excuse at all for this kid being as bad as he is. But again, who's really to blame? Is it the kid or Ava DuVernay for not directing him very well? Well, just like figuring out how many licks does it get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop, the world may never know. I'm sorry, that came out of nowhere. I was just thinking back to those old Tootsie Pop commercials with the owl. Let's move on. The next reaction comes from someone who I actually featured in my Black Panther spoiler review, and that is from Expletive Leaded.
I don't get it. I mean, there was a positive message to the film, and that was loud and clear, but as far as, like, the events and, like, plot, I have no idea what was going on. I don't know, maybe I need to be a kid to understand it. Maybe it's only clear if you read the book. A lot of times you hear the word unfilmable thrown around to describe a book that just wouldn't translate well, and then they try anyways, and it's crap. So I kind of get a sense that that's what happened here. I did love the cast. The missuses were great, and somehow Chris Pine is hotter as the dad.
So going back to the whole, this book was probably unfilmable, we kind of see eye to eye. In terms of the misses, I actually didn't like them all that much. I already mentioned my problems with Oprah being 10 feet tall and Reese Witherspoon turning into a flying piece of lettuce, but the one thing I didn't understand was Mindy Kaling speaking in quotes. It just didn't make any sense. I mean, maybe it's explained in the book, but you shouldn't have to rely on the book to get what's going on in a film. The film should act on its own, and in terms of what we have in the film with Mindy Kaling, I didn't get it at all. I did not know why she was speaking in quotes, and I also didn't understand why it was limited, because there's a certain point in the movie where she just stopped speaking in quotes, and it's pretty much the equivalent of saying, oh, our power meters are going down, so we can't do our special abilities. That's not the exact quote from the movie, but it might as well be, because that's kind of what happens to where she stops speaking in quotes. And also, if I could say something about Chris Pine, I just saw this tweet today, but somebody on Twitter compared Chris Pine in A Wrinkle in Time, at least in the way he looks, to Gary from Team America World Police. Whoa, 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 take it easy there, Chuck. I hurt people. I'm a dick. Oh, God, I gotta watch Team America again. I gotta review that movie one day, so that movie just makes me laugh my ass off. So yeah, there's one more reaction I want to feature for A Wrinkle in Time, and this one comes from Adorkable Rachel.
I will give the movie this. It is freaking gorgeous. It looks amazing. It's shot insanely well. The colors are beautiful, and even though some of the graphics look fake some of the time, it's still a lot of fun to look at. But this movie is trying so hard to be deep and mythical and just, like awe-inspiring, but it lacks so much substance and it doesn't make sense, and I don't care about a lot of the characters. But there's still some nice moments.
I pretty much agree with that. One thing that I didn't mention in my original review as a positive is that even though a lot of the special effects look like plastic, it does have a great color palette. The first time they go to that field and there's all the flowers that come to life, it definitely looks bright and beautiful. Even during the weird flying sequence, where they're pretty much ripping off the landscapes from Avatar with the flying mountains, it looked beautiful. But yeah, this movie just turns out to be more of a visual feast to the eye, rather than something that's supposed to be really deep. Because the movie plays itself so seriously, it just feels heartless. This movie just doesn't have a soul. And again, maybe that might have to do with the book, which I've never read, but I don't know, like, this movie just, I did not have fun watching it at all. So, there you go, that's all the reactions that I have for A Wrinkle in Time. Now let's move on to the Hurricane Heist. I didn't send a call out for reactions to the Hurricane Heist because this was something that I just thought up on the spot as I was doing my review, which you should check out if you haven't seen it. So I don't have any reactions in this section that I was actually tagged in, and the first reaction I have comes from Kev Watched a Film, and it's probably my favorite reaction concerning the Hurricane Heist.
What's up, Stardust? So, I just saw the Hurricane Heist, and I'm so inspired, because if this movie can be made, and can be wide released, then I can do anything I want to do. I can do anything I put my mind to. But really, though, how the hell did this make it into theaters? It's so awful. There's nothing good. This would be a great time with friends and alcohol, but I can't have either one.
I love his approach to thinking about Hurricane Heist. If this movie made it into theaters, or hell, got made to begin with, then anything could really be possible. It's like when you look at Jersey Shore and someone asks, why are you watching this bullshit? And you just say, because watching Jersey Shore makes me feel so much better as a person, like, oh, thank God I'm not these people. So yeah, I don't have much else to add to his reaction. It is very much the kind of movie that you'd watch with beer and your friends just laughing your ass off over, if that was the case for most of the movie, but unfortunately it's not, as Johnny Bushido mentions.
Oh man, Toby Kebbell, you really need to find a better agent. He's such a good actor. Well, not in this. But I thought The Hurricane Heist was going to be one of those films that's so bad that it's really good. But it's not bad. It's just bad. Although I did like the special effects in here. But The Hurricane Heist reminds me of one of those films that you find in like a bargain bin in like Walmart or Family Dollar. So you can just skip this one.
Okay, as I mentioned before, you thought this movie was going to be so bad it's good, but it ends up being just plain bad. And that statement I agree with him on. The special effects being good, not so much. But I gotta say, he definitely was a lot more harsh on how to describe the movie than I was. I mentioned it as a movie that the Asylum made and got the power to put in the theaters. He called it a movie that you find at the bargain bin at Walmart. So despite us disagreeing on the quality of the special effects, he's definitely a lot more harsh on this movie than I was. And yeah, Toby Kebbell just really needs to get a better agent. I mean, he did have some good stuff after Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I enjoyed Kong Skull Island, which his southern accent in that movie is a lot better than the southern accent he has in this one. And he was really good for the brief time he was in A Monster Calls. If you've never seen A Monster Calls, go see it. It was my second favorite movie of 2016. So we all know Toby Kebbell is talented, but yeah, he just needs to get a new agent, because whoever's picking his scripts is not doing their job at all. Or maybe Toby Kebbell did something really bad, and this is kind of the agent's way of getting revenge on him, just picking these horrible projects for him to do. I mean, I don't want to jump into conspiracy theories, but that sounds like a sound explanation. I'm not going to start rumors. I'm moving on. And by the way, since this is a spoiler video, there was one thing in my original review that I wanted to mention, but I couldn't. During one of the gunfights in the movie, just out in the middle of the storm that doesn't blow anyone away, Toby Kebbell's character has collected a bunch of hubcaps that you see on cars. He lets them go, and the hubcaps just fly away in the wind as if they're ninja stars. And one of them impales one of the criminals on the chest, and he just falls over dead. And when that scene happened, I laughed my ass off. And I was like, yes, this is the stuff I want to see in this kind of movie. The stuff that makes this a so bad it's good movie. And then you just cut back to really boring shit and sometimes random moments, which I gotta say, out of all the reactors that I follow, there are two people that really put their effort into making the best reactions in terms of quality. There's Tess, and then there's this guy.
I do this to myself, okay? Hurricane Heist is a movie that I didn't expect to be good, but I at least wanted it to be so bad that it was fun. But the thing is, there are 20 and 30-minute scenes in this film that are not fun. It is sitting and literally having a conversation about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The accents are horrible. They talk like this the entire time, and the visual effects don't hold up. It's just a movie that you get what you expect. It's my fault. I shouldn't have went and seen it.
Yeah, as he mentioned, there's a sequence where Maggie Grace and Toby Kebbell are hanging out in this building, and Toby Kebbell's high-grade military vehicle has a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in there, and they're having a random conversation about them, and how one of them prefers Jif peanut butter or Smucker's jelly. It's weird. It doesn't add anything. Yeah, there's not much else to add about that. Now, the last reaction I'm going to showcase for the Hurricane Heist comes from H.H. Wood Reviews, who's actually the most positive out of all the reactions I featured here for Hurricane Heist.
$1 million, a group of thieves looking to rob the U.S. Treasury and a giant-ass hurricane. What else more do you want in a action film? Overall, the film wasn't the greatest, but the action sequences and the hurricane stuff was pretty awesome. It was a lot better than Geostorm. Overall, the story wasn't that great. The acting wasn't, it was subpar. But overall, it was a fun action film. If you're in the mood for an action film, check it out. It's not going to win an Oscar.
Yeah, that's an understatement right there. It might not even get recognized at the Razzies when that time comes around, because the Razzies will just plain attack anything that's mainstream, and if they were actually legit about picking the worst movies of the year, they would have picked The Snowman. I'm still on that. Never get over that. He mentioned that it's a lot better than Geostorm in terms of the action scenes. I can't get on board with that. I mentioned this in my review, but Hurricane Heist was just pretty much a hurricane, nothing else. Geostorm at least had stupid, over-the-top scenarios that were inventive for the little time they were on. A blizzard just storms all across South America, freezes a plane that drops out of the sky and lands on a woman who's trying to run away, even though she outrun the weather and a plane didn't. There's that weird sequence at the end where they're trying to outrun lightning. There's a point where the earth is boiling and the ground's just exploding. It's just all these really stupid, over-the-top, imaginative things that they clearly had the money to pull off, whereas Hurricane Heist was just a hurricane that was in the background for most of the movie. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about both movies. It's actually sad that I was looking forward to seeing the Hurricane Heist a lot more than I was A Wrinkle in Time. Both were disappointments. I mean, with Ava DuVernay in terms of A Wrinkle in Time, I still look forward to see what she's going to do next, because everyone has that one bad movie. And it doesn't mean that you're completely done just because you make one bad movie. I mean, look at Christopher Nolan. I didn't like The Dark Knight Rises, and I didn't like Interstellar, but I love Dunkirk, which came out after those two movies. So there's always room to bounce back, and I think Ava DuVernay can really bounce back from this. Rob Cohen, on the other hand, not so much. And I honestly feel bad for him because I've seen him talk in interviews a lot of the time, and he seems very sincere with his movies. And with his recent statements of him wanting to direct the final Fast and Furious movie, like the very last one, I don't think he's the right man for the job. I mean, he did a good job with the very first movie, but that's about it. The series has gone on to a point that I don't think he can handle it, especially with how poorly the action scenes were done in the Hurricane Heist. And plus, the Fast and Furious is never going to end. They'll find ways to keep making all these movies, even if Vin Diesel leaves the franchise. So there you go, that does it for this week's Stardust video, and this was probably the only double feature that I'll be doing in terms of Stardust reactions, because the Hurricane Heist one was just last minute. I always enjoy doing these videos, I enjoy showcasing other people's reactions, and some of the people whose reactions I showed actually have YouTube channels of their own, particularly Adorkable Rachel, HH Wood Reviews, and the Burk3nator. They all have their own YouTube channels. Go check them out. Tell them the real Mr. Robinson sent you, because they are just as entertaining to watch on YouTube as they are on Stardust. And then, of course, Corey Goodwin is on Double Toasted. Once again, I want to thank Jake from Stardust for the partnership that I'm doing with them in terms of showcasing reactions on my channel. And I especially want to thank him and Christine over at Stardust for inviting me to the Arena Cine Lounge a couple nights ago for the premiere of Los Angeles Overnight. It's this micro-budget independent movie that the owner of the Arena Cine Lounge was a co-producer on. It's a really unique movie, I gotta say. But anyway, Stardust was sponsoring the event, and not only did they invite me out, but they invited Greg Alba and John Humphrey over from The Real Rejects. It's always great to hang out with those two when I get the chance. And we got to talk to Lynn Shay from the Insidious movies, who actually stars in Los Angeles Overnight. It's going to be released on VOD at some point, so you should definitely check it out when you get the chance. It's very unique. I quite dug it for the kind of movie that it was. And again, I cannot thank Jake and Christine enough for the opportunities that they've given me with Stardust, and here's to more in the future. And also, congratulations to doubletoasted.com for reaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's been a long time coming. You guys have definitely deserved it. You guys have been my favorite YouTube channel ever since the days of Spill. Love you guys. So keep up the great work, everyone. Thank you all for watching. If you want your reactions featured in future videos, just go ahead, download the app on Stardust, follow me, Real Mr. Robinson, and whatever reactions I think are the best will be featured in whichever movie I'm covering. And you can go to the link right here, stardust.app.link/RealMrRobinson. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on A Wrinkle in Time and the Hurricane Heist in terms of spoilers. And as always, this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.